and we will get going. So thanks everybody for joining today. Super excited to have Mike and Lauren here from 1500 Sound Academy. I'm Jack Friedman at Study Smart Tutors. I know many of the folks on this call are on our team as well. So hello. At Study Smart, those that don't know who we are and what we do, our mission is to help students become the first in their families to get into and graduate from college. And to do that, we establish partnerships like these with folks who are like-minded and have amazing content and resources to provide students with pathways into some really exciting careers. So we're super excited today to welcome Mike and Lauren from 1500 Sound Academy. We'll let them introduce themselves and we'll get going.
Go for it, Lauren.
Oh, I was like, oh my gosh, I'm first.
You're first.
Hi everyone. My name is Lauren Gaspard. I am a lead instructor slash adjunct instructor over at 1500 Sound Academy. Had a chance to do the artist branding and the music business class there, and it has been such a joy to be a part of the team. The gentlemen that founded 1500, Lawrence Dobson and James Fauntleroy, have been friends of mine for a really long time. And so this was just a way of getting involved and supporting our communities that we grew up in. And it's just been a pleasure, alongside my actual day job, which is I am the director of urban marketing at Interscope Records. So in a nutshell, my week has been crazy because Super Bowl is Sunday. So we have a lot of things going on, but wouldn't pick a better way to spend my time than with the students and with 1500. So I'm excited.
Awesome. Lauren, you'll have to talk a little bit about what you all are doing for Super Bowl week. I know that's not exactly on this PowerPoint, but we'd all, I'm sure, love to know a little about that too.
Yeah, well, the halftime show
just that.
We have Eminem, Dr. Dre, and Snoop, who are all three of them are Interscope artists or have been, and Kendrick Lamar, at one point in their careers. And so obviously for us, this is like a big deal, even though we only have 15 minutes, it has to be a thing. So we have a lot of our acts in town this week. We have a couple of events and press conferences that we're having to do. A few artists that I work with are avid sports fans. So there's a lot of things that the NFL is doing in the city that they've come out here and traveled for to be present and, shoot some content and hopefully make some new fans. So
excellent.
But yeah, it's exciting. I mean, all good problems to have. Busy, but good problems to have.
Excellent. And I think one of the things we're going to talk about today is careers in the music industry and exposing those types of careers to our students. And I think you're a walking example of a career in the music industry beyond being an artist and what that means. And I'm super excited that that's something you'll be able to share. So awesome. We're so happy to have you.
Thank you. Excited to be here.
So I'm Mike Packer. And I don't want to talk about the Super Bowl because my team is not playing in it. I'm a 49er fan, so it's a little sore subject for me. So
sorry,
Mike, I didn't even know that.
Oh no, it's okay. It's all good. I'm over it now. It was a day or two of depression, and now I'm good. So my name is Mike Packer. I'm Vice President of Education at True Family Enterprises, and that's the parent company that oversees 1500 Sound Academy. So my main responsibilities are overseeing all operations of the academy. I'm a lifelong musician, music student, and studied, in public schools all the way through in music programs, went to a public university for music. So very passionate about music education, and the arts in public schools. As a musician, played professionally for probably 35 years now. A lot of varying different styles and different situations. And then as an educator, have taught for many, many years, done clinics, both domestically and internationally in Asia and Europe, and have a bunch of educational content as well. So super thrilled to be here with you all. and looking forward to getting through the rest of the presentation and talking about some of the topics that we have for you today.
Awesome. Awesome. Thanks, Mike. Yeah, so as always in our webinars, we just have a few community agreements. Come as you are. Everything is an invitation. We welcome new experiences. So thanks everybody in advance for their participation. Quick icebreaker. We can use the chat box for this one. But as we are talking a little bit about music today, only right that we have a music icebreaker. And we actually, Lauren, we should have had all only Interscope artists here. Probably would have been fair for you. So we're going to apologize. We'll blame Mike for this since he picked these choices. So you can blame him for not tying this in with Interscope artists or with the Super Bowl. So we'll give him the blame. But if everyone wants to go ahead and use the chat box and go ahead and just pick one of these 5 songs that maybe resonates with you today. Oh, wow. We have a runaway winner so far. Julia, did you pick one that wasn't on this list?
I just go with the option E or F.
Option F. We can never get you to follow directions, so I shouldn't be surprised.
Know. But there's nothing with Taylor Swift, so
I know you only go Taylor Swift, so I love it. Excellent. Well, looks like I Feel Good was the winner. Oh no, I lied. Don't worry, Be Happy was the winner. Don't worry, Be Happy was the winner. All right. Excellent. Well, that's good. Happy to hear some positive vibes on a Wednesday. Love it. Excellent. So before we jump in, and we'll do a quick breakout room, get everybody to participate a little bit. Simple question here, and feel free to take this in whatever direction you want. But why do you believe music education is important for your students, and it's something you encourage them to participate in, and take music education as broad of a category as you would like, whether that's about the music itself, about singing, about instruments, about it can literally be anything. So take that question in many different ways, and I'm just gonna make some breakout rooms here. Give me 1 second, and we will get going. All right. Give me 1 second. All right. We'll see you in a few minutes, and we gave you someone for you to meet, hopefully that you don't already know. Welcome back. Welcome back.
Thank you.
Everybody, welcome back. Room 4 is here. Room 2 is coming back. Excellent. Excellent. All right. Thank you all for participating in our breakout rooms. Anyone have any conversation in their breakout room that is worth sharing with the whole group? Anyone want to shout out someone they met in their breakout room that said anything interesting?
I met the real Elise. That was cool.
Nice. The real Elise, one of the many fake Elises that have been on this call, but you got the real one.
Yeah.
Excellent. Excellent.
We had a nice conversation. It's literally aha for me to hear it. It's we know the importance of the music, what's needed, but I think Mike point up a really good point is music not only helps students to create a community wherever they go, but also have that long lasting relationship and lean in that community in a longer time. And that's the big piece of it. I just love that perspective.
Awesome. Love it. Excellent. Anybody else? Okay. Great. Awesome. Mike, I will turn it over to you.
Yeah, thank you, Jack. So, just a couple things here about the current state of the music industry. This graph kind of illustrates how the industry's been doing for the last 20 years. And you can see that it was doing very well, and then it experienced quite a dip, and then it's come up again. Part of the dip is because of COVID, and then the other part of the dip is because of new technologies. So if you look at the graph in red, those are physical assets. So a CD, a tape, things like that. You can see that pretty much dominated the industry in 2001, 2002, 2003, and it started to dip. Then we start to see the green come in, which are downloads. Okay, and then as those start to take off a little bit, the industry is still dipping. But then if you look at the blue, that's the real interesting part. The blue are streaming. And you can see the streaming start to take hold in 2012, 2013, 2014, and then it starts to grow. And then it becomes really a large part, if not the largest part of the industry. And it's really been the driver to bring the industry back. The little yellow up on top is synchronization. So that is music for film and TV. Anytime you take music and you link it or sync it to any picture, it's called synchronization. So that's a small part of the industry, but really streaming has been the driver for the huge increase. Lauren, you have such a great perspective on this. I don't know if you want to chime in on any of the aspects here that I may have missed.
No, I think you covered it. I think, obviously as technology changes, you'll start to see a change and we'll continue to see a change in how music is consumed. So I think that's where, a lot of this comes in, a couple of interesting perspectives from our end as far as impacts from the pandemic. A lot of what you saw were an increase, a decrease in like streaming memberships, but an increase in the types of records that were streamed because people were more often than not reverting back to songs that they knew, which we consider catalog records. So songs that they're familiar with, songs that are their favorites. A lot of the streaming memberships adjusted because we were in the house. So people didn't really have to, it seemed like the numbers were going down because families were listening to one radio as opposed to 5 different streaming devices in 5 separate places. So now, obviously, again, that's just attributing to technology, right? Because as the world continues to go through its changes, you'll see that music kind of has to force itself into the same ebb and flow. So
Great. So next we'll talk about some benefits of offering music curriculum in schools. And I believe that's what we touched on a bit in the breakout room. So the bullet points that we'll talk about here are some that are brought to light by the National Association for Music Education. But obviously there are more benefits than just what's going to be here presented. So I'll go ahead and talk through some. First, musical training helps develop language and reasoning skills. Absolutely. In fact, I feel music is just another language. It's its own language. So obviously, learning that new language is developing language and reasoning skills in the brain. So that's a tremendous help for students. Number 2, mastery of memorization. Absolutely. So if a student is memorizing a piece of music, they're really working through the brain pathways of how to memorize and recall pieces of music. But not only that, I think it also speaks to muscle memory and dexterity memory. I'm a drummer, so of course when I'm practicing something, I'm really focusing on the muscle memory it takes and the independence and interdependence it takes to play it. So I think there's a bunch of memory benefits to be had with music. Students learn to improve their work. Very true. We all want to improve the ability to play whatever piece that we're playing or improve the composition that we're working on. So it's a constant desire to improve whatever creative work we're working on. Increased coordination, I think we just spoke about that with the interdependence and the dependence and dexterity. Number 5, a sense of achievement, absolutely. Whether it's, mastering a piece of music and playing it great at a concert, or even just something as kind of detailed as a small passage or something that you have been working on and you're able to perform it well for your teacher in a lesson. Any sense of achievement, I think, is huge for a student and can certainly lead to much better self-confidence. It helps kids stay engaged in school, absolutely. And I think, the more students want to be in a music setting and be around friends, it's going to have them engage in school and the other activities that are happening within school. Can we go to the next slide, Jack? Thank you. So let's jump to number 7, success in society. Music is the fabric of our society, and so it can shape the abilities and character of people. I think not only in society, but in maybe a shorter term, thinking of it as community and in local community. Number 8, emotional development. Students of music can be more emotionally developed and offer more empathy towards other people and cultures. I think that's absolutely true. Musical instruments can teach discipline, and that is a big one. Not only when you're organizing your practice schedule and doing all of that. I think if anybody on the call has ever been part of a marching band, I know Christian has, or a drum corps, the discipline it takes to be in lockstep with other bandmates, and if you're a drummer, to be exactly in line with your other drumline mates. There's a lot of discipline involved in that, so it's a big one. 10, preparation for the creative economy. When I was in college, they always said that a music degree was the best liberal arts degree that you could get, because it showed employers that you are employable, that you are organized, you can think outside the box, you have an entrepreneurial spirit. So I think any creative music curriculum would definitely lend itself towards that entrepreneurial and growth mindset that is needed for the creative economy. Development in creative thinking, definitely. Kids who study the arts can learn to think creatively. This kind of education can help them solve problems, and I think that's a big one. I mean, if I think about my day-to-day life, it's pretty much all problem solving with work and everything. So teaching creative thinking through music and problem solving through music can be very, very beneficial. Teamwork, absolutely. In a lot of ways, I think music and ensemble playing is very much the same as sports. When you're in an ensemble, you're very much a part of a team, and you have to work together to make whatever piece of music you're performing really exquisite. So I think that's a big one right there. Self-confidence we spoke about earlier. I think playing music definitely adds to the student's self-confidence. And then the last one, which I think is really important, is it increases retention. Kind of going back to the point that I was talking about earlier about being involved in school. For me personally, I was involved in public schools and music programs. And I think because of the enjoyment of the activities that we were doing in music and my friends and my community through the music department, it definitely made me have better retention for other areas within school. Not that I was a great student everywhere else in school, But I definitely had great retention. I definitely participated, and I think that's true for a lot of students. Jack, do you want to talk us through the breakout?
Yeah, I would set up a new breakout room for everybody, and we can just talk about, as you think about these benefits, what are some of the ones that stood out to you? And I'll go back a couple of slides and I'll keep them up in the breakout so people can see them. But obviously, I think some of these are maybe more relevant to the work that we're all doing than others. So I think feel free to kind of talk through the relevance and what maybe stands out to you as you think about you and your students. I will go ahead and make some new breakout rooms. So give me 1 second here, and I will do that. All right. I will see you all in a minute. I just went ahead and made 2 rooms this time. All right, welcome back. Excellent. Well, hi everyone. Any benefits that stood out that anybody wanted to shout out or that you all discussed in your breakout rooms? I know there were lots of them here, so.
Eve mentioned the expression and just allowing students to kind of find themselves and derive confidence from that. I thought that was a great point.
Yeah, I think one that I was thinking about just in terms of the work that we all do in the after school space is music as a recruiting tool. I know, Mike, we've talked about this before, of using a music class, an after school setting, as something students want to do, right? As a recruiting tool for the things that we need them to do, whether that's math homework or writing their college essays or what have you, but getting them in the door with music is something that I know we've seen be really successful in a lot of spaces, because students want to do it, and the community aspect of doing something in music with their friends is something students, whether they're in elementary school, middle school, high school, or college, are interested in. And Mike, probably that's something, as a professional musician for however many years, you said something you still enjoy doing with your friends.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Excellent. Awesome.
All right. So Lauren's going to take over here and talk about music as a source of empowerment and expression.
Yes, hey guys. I touched on it in a couple of our breakout rooms, and I know Mike, you kind of spoke to it as well, as music being a source of expression and empowerment. As we all know, along our lives and as we continue to move through this life, music provides an excellent platform for expressing ourselves through any type of creation. Every note and lyric represents something deeply personal to the artist, the songwriter, the producer, and it spreads far and wide with that. And of course, as a form of expression, a lot of times it acts as a piece of therapy for us, which we have kind of touched on as well. And instead of harboring these things that we might feel like we cannot speak to as creatives, we often find some way to get them out, right? So if not music, then art, in terms of being a visual artist, in some ways that translates to sports and athletes and things like that. So I think it's important to learn how music shapes the world and shapes all of us culturally, and how we're able to express ourselves in these moments. And many genres that we know of today, blues, jazz, country, rap, hip hop, and R&B, all derive from just being products of their environments with these artists. One of the things that is so notable about country music artists is that they are some of the most incredible songwriters ever, right? And so we often give credence and credit to country artists coming from a place of, being able to channel pain and joy and things of that nature, and be able to really translate the true art of songwriting, where you have blues and jazz, which have given us some of our best musicians, from the Louis Armstrongs and the Miles Davises of the world. You have such a wide range of that, and these are all forms and tools of expression, because even if you kind of dive into some of their lives were difficult. Some of them had hardship, and they used music as a bright spot. And an example too is the rap genre came from communities feeling underrepresented, right? Communities of struggle, feeling like we didn't have a voice of empowerment. We didn't have a voice to express anything, from joy to pain to activism, from things and things that we felt strongly about, to feel proud about certain things. So to feel joyous about how far we have come. So I think in any capacity, you can see how music has played an essential role, and even in moments of history as well, right? I had a professor when I was in college tell me that music is often attached to meaning making. So when you have places in music, you can always think of, when you hear a song, a time period, or a place you were when you first heard it, or something that particular record did for you, and a space you were in your life. And that's attaching that to meaning making for you as a person, in this society in general. So we can go ahead to the next slide. And along those lines, creating the need for access and inclusion within music and music education. I think this speaks really, really true to me, specifically, not necessarily as a musician, but of one that works in the music business. Over time, we've had challenges, and I won't just leave this to music, but I'd say just in corporate spaces in general, we've had challenge in having diversity, and seeing, as a young African-American woman, seeing people who work in music that look like me, of creating that space. How does that look? And I think that it's our time now, and it's such a prime time where we are in the world, and the things that we have progressed to, where we're able to create this. So firstly, creating a pipeline for new creatives and executives. That is where I can come in that space of coming into a place like a 1500, giving real life experiences, having the one-on-one chance to talk and discuss how these things translate into a creative career or a creative just space in general, and then having myself used as a resource, for them once they do depart and go on out in the world, being able to have some type of access. That can be done through live job training, internship programs, and of course, hands-on with industry professionals. Challenging the institutionalized prejudices within the space. Again, often when we see things about music, whether that be career or in the creative space, we've often referred to it as a male-dominated industry, right? But I think now is the time for us to really expand and explore of how we can create spaces, and starting at the educational level of showing where we can bring women into these spaces, or we can bring all types of different, whether that's racial, different sexes, different races, to come in and be able to still be a part of the educational process, again, to create visibility of those and make sure that all those students are accounted for with respect to cultural nuances, gender nuances, and race as well. Tools for therapy and healing. And I can speak directly to just, my work over at 1500 for the last couple of months. We had a few students in there that had some learning disabilities, that were faced with autism and different things. And music is often sought out as an outlet for them, or as a tool of therapy, a tool of healing. That is a common ground that we can all meet on, to make them feel like they are not ostracized because of some disability that they have. And so I think creating that space for them, and creating that safe space for them from an educational standpoint, is something that we have control of. And using those different sessions, or using those times to dive into the behavior training and and having those one-off sessions with them about how they feel. I had a couple of experiences with my students last month, where I could we had gotten so acquainted, where I was able to kind of tell when one of them wasn't having the best day, or one of them wasn't really bringing their full selves to the school. And this doesn't necessarily just apply to the students with special needs, but just students having human interaction, and experiencing what they have going on outside of school. So being able to have that space for them and create a safe space for them in the name of music is something that we should strive to do. Mentorship, I'm a huge proponent of mentorship. Having, and then also having multiple mentors, right? So as they continue to matriculate through the educational system, especially music education, different mentors can serve different purposes in different spaces in their lives. And whether that's you coming into a music business class and not knowing you needed to know more than what you knew and had on your plate originally, and looking to said instructor or said persons or tutors like ourselves to be able to come along and provide a different lens or a different perspective, and also be a launching pad and a landing pad for them to come back to when they just have questions or they just feel stuck or they need help navigating. I think, mentorship plays a huge role in how to develop in your career trajectory and just to develop in society as a whole.
Lauren, can you talk about how in your own career journey, do you mind just sharing how you were able to navigate finding mentors and, if you were speaking to a young you interested in this field, what are some of the things that you wish you did, or what are some of the, because I think this is one that a lot of our students hear, right? Finding mentors is great, but I think it often for our students, it's great, but I don't know how to do that. That sounds great, but I don't know where to look for a mentor. These are, I think, so just would love to hear on your own experience.
Yeah, I would say in my own experience, I'm not a huge advocate for forcing a mentorship relationship, because then it doesn't feel, it feels very transactional. And I'm a huge proponent of mentorship should feel something as effortless as a friendship, right? And that's really what it is at the end of the day. It's a real-time person that you see as more than just somebody that's an industry professional. You see them as a friend, because they have experiences that you may not have had, or they share like-minded experiences. Maybe your trajectories are the same. In my particular professional career, I was the one that came from the internship to the assistant to the can you guys hear me? Uh-oh.
Now we can. You muted for 1 second. Okay. You're back.
What happened? But yeah, I had a traditional trajectory, right? To where that's kind of something that's used, that's common in the music business space. But you have others who came right out of college or didn't go to college and went right into a professional position that, have different values, So I think aligning with someone or finding a point of entry or common ground with someone that you look up to or would like to learn more from, I think that would be a starting point for finding a mentor. But I do not think that's something that should be forced. I think that is something that's an organic relationship, and it doesn't just all have to fall on one person. It's okay to have multiple mentors. Hopefully.
Awesome. Yeah, absolutely. Okay. Absolutely.
And lastly, just creating community. I think that's most important. One of the tools that we discussed in our classes at 1500 is to enforce the idea of lateral networking. That's how you create community, right? We oftentimes may want to look toward the president of these big corporations or the high profile producer that has tons of placements, like, the Diane Warrens of the world. I want to talk to her because she can tell me how to do X, Y, and Z. That's not really the starting point for you, because the starting point for you is that Diane Warren at some point in time knew another songwriter that was sitting next to her that was at the same place that she was at. And then ultimately now they have created a friendship and community and have been able to laterally network across their own relationships to be able to rise at the same, in the same spaces. So a lot of my friendships or, colleagues that I do have in the business that I deal with directly have all been people that I've just pretty much been raised with in the business. We were interns at the same time. We've learned the same things. Our trajectories are similar, and I think that is something that they have been able to kind of see or should be able to see when in these environments.
Mike, we didn't talk a lot about what you all do at 1500 Sound Academy and where you're located and all of that in the beginning. But maybe before we move forward, do you mind just briefly sharing some of the community, the creating community, and what that looks like in the space that you guys create?
Absolutely. So 1500 Sound Academy is a music academy co-founded by multi Grammy-winning producers and songwriters James Fauntleroy and Lawrence Dobson. And they've worked with artists like Justin Timberlake, Bruno Mars, Kendrick Lamar, Jay-Z, Beyonce, the list goes on and on and on. It's crazy. So we have an academy that is, the programming right now is kind of similar to a boot camp. It's a 6-month intensive that covers music production, engineering, songwriting, mixing, music business, and artist branding. And our student population, we're post-secondary, so 18 to 25-year-olds typically. And most of them are very career-oriented. So they're coming to us wanting to gain the skills to then enter into the music industry in whatever field that they're looking to go for. Some of the students will be academically minded and want to continue on and pursue a bachelor's degree. But as far as the community goes, one of the big missions of our co-founders in the institution as a whole is to provide access and inclusion to underserved students and underserved communities. So we're currently working with Inglewood High School, and we're going to be hosting on campus a cohort of students from Inglewood High School and putting them through a program. We have a lot of initiatives happening with the state of California Department of Education to look at the CTE standards and try and align them with what is actually needed for a music student going into the industry and what's needed with the community and everything that's entailed there. So a lot of different initiatives around the academy, but it's a terrific place that is very welcoming and has wonderful curriculum.
Excellent.
Wonderful curriculum. Yeah.
Awesome.
Okay, I can go ahead and pick up here. According to the study Inclusion in the Music Business, Gender and Racial Ethnicity Across Executives, Artists, and Talent Teams by the Annenberg Inclusion Initiative at the University of Southern California. So this is basically a brief stat that kind of discusses what we mentioned earlier in the earlier slide, that a total of 70 major and independent companies were examined for their top executives, and at the pinnacle of power within these entities, 86.1 were of the top executives were men, 13.9 were women, and 86.1 were white. All 10 non-white executives ran independent companies, and only 2 were women of color. In total, just 3 top executives were Black. Obviously, this is a work in progress, and I'm very, very proud of the work that the music business is doing now to make sure that this changes, right? Because upon reading something like this, it's a very jarring stat, so and I think that, whether it's women or women of color, there's often something that's not widely talked about, is that we work a lot harder to even get in these positions as well. So I think that I'm, again, work in progress, which is why it's so important for diversity and inclusion in these spaces, but then also to celebrate and highlight when, as a business and as a industry, that we are doing well, or we are actively, you have a lot of companies that are trying to fix this. So I think it's important that just from an educational level, that we do our part as well. We can go to the next slide.
Yeah, in terms of breakout room, just in the interest of time, we won't do a quick breakout, but just something that we want to think about. We'll follow up about this with everybody. Just some of the things that maybe are most interesting: creating a pipeline, challenging the institutionalized prejudices, creating tools for therapy, mentorship, and community. I think the community piece is one that I think comes most naturally here and is going to be inherent in any music program that you create. but looking forward to following up and talking further about all of these with everybody.
Awesome. We actually we can actually, if you don't mind, this is just a quick example, but if we can go
Let me
to
go to the next one.
slide.
Yeah.
That particular slide, once you guys have a chance to review, is just kind of an example. But I just wanted to kind of touch on the career pathways in music. And I know I touched on it a couple times in some of the breakout rooms, but as a person who is not a creative, so to speak, I do not sing. I don't know how, I mean, I could probably engineer a record if I put my mind to it. I can probably program a couple of things for you on a board if you needed me to, but for the most part, I would be considered having a record industry career, right? And I think that that's something that should be discussed as part of music education as well, that it doesn't necessarily just have to be directly correlated with music theory, but there's also a business side that can be explained and celebrated, right? So from your DJs to your singers, musicians, and a lot of these on the left are more the creative side, right? With the songwriters and your musicians and composers, sound designers, arrangers. These are all, pretty familiar when it comes to music education, but on the juxtaposition of the professional side, you do have A&Rs, which stands for artists and repertoire, somebody who is in charge of putting records together, putting producers and songwriters in rooms, a publisher who is in charge of an artist's catalog, a songwriter's catalog, a publicist who's in charge of press, who's a lot of our favorite musicians and artists, the Beyoncés and the Janet Jacksons of the world, go on these amazing press runs, and a lot of these music or a lot of these magazine covers that you see, that's a publicist's job. The director of marketing, like myself, who has to literally pull all these pieces together that you see and make them make sense. That's my job. So something that can be that, and then of course knowing that these are also creative in a sense, because even in pulling pieces together, we have to create a story, we have to create a narrative. So booking agents, tour managers, these are for live shows and live events. So a lot of these things I think are worth discussing, that there is no one way to get to the career path of music, I think, is to sum it up. And the slide before this was just kind of an example of that. Yeah, we can skip by that. And Mike, I can kick it back to you.
Terrific. Yeah, so curriculum solutions for schools and students. Typically, there are two options, right? There's free and then there's purchased. And free would be, videos on YouTube, or, a lot of the software providers will have some free educational content on their website that's related to their software solutions. And one that's very popular right now is Soundtrap. So Soundtrap has the Soundtrap Academy, and we included the link there in case you want to go ahead and check that out. And then you have purchased resources, and that's purchased curriculum. And Jack, I think we can go probably on to the next slide if you want to take over from here and talk about our partnership and the solution that we have built together.
Yeah, we're really excited about, we have 3 courses that we've partnered with 1500 Sound Academy to create and deliver to students. And Christian can talk in super specifics, but we have a songwriting and production kind of introductory course, which is 10 sessions. We have a advanced production course, which is 10 lessons. And then we have a careers, branding, and promotion course, which stands totally separate and is probably more up Lauren's alley on the types of things that she does every day. And I think this one is really interesting for students to think about, because many of our students, they're interested in the career path, but they may not be aware of all the types of jobs and ways to get into those types of jobs. And so we're advocating for partners to create some pathway around music education, both on the creative side and on the career pathway side, and giving them exposure to the real tools that are used by professionals in the space, by getting exposure to professionals in the industry through the video content of the course. And what's cool about all of these courses is they can be done asynchronously, they can be done synchronously in a virtual environment, they can be done synchronously in a in-person environment, they can be taught by one of our instructors, they can be taught by a school staff member or an after-school partner. So we really designed these to be flexible and to be adaptable. But we're seeing a lot of folks interested in doing these as part of their summer programs, as using as a recruiting tool to recruit new students into their after-school programs. And each student who completes these courses will get a certificate from 1500 Sound Academy at the end, which is super awesome. They're going to be able to put that on their college applications. They're going to be able to put it on their brag sheets. They're going to be able to put it on their resumes. And getting some real industry experience and industry recognized names as part of what they're doing is really, really exciting. And so we want to just say thank you to Mike and to Lauren for their hard work to help put this together and to bring this to the students. And we're excited to be rolling it out this spring and summer. So thank you all so much. I know it is 1:01. I said we'd be done at 1, so I lied by a minute, but we did pretty good on that. And just again want to say thank you all for joining the webinar. Thank you to Mike, thank you to Lauren, and we're happy to stay on and answer any questions that anybody has, and look forward to following up with you all soon. Thanks so much.